You know, I don't think I will ever daily drive a NVIDIA GPU. Hey, I got this NVIDIA GPU here. You can have it, but you have to actually use it. Do not underestimate the power of the dark side. I don't know where I'm going with this intro. Hello and welcome. I got a GPU in 2021, and I'm gonna talk about that actually. So let's get into it. Hello and welcome. My name is Wolfie, and you are watching GreaterThanPie. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. This is not my typical GPU brand. In fact, actually, I think my entire channel has been built off of the fact that I do primarily use AMD GPUs. And trust me, if I could, I would be doing this with an AMD GPU. Problem is stock and shortages and everything that we've been dealing with for the last 2 years. But more than that, I actually wanted to kind of talk about actually buying a GPU, what I ended up buying, and my impressions of the entire thing. How did I get this? Did I pray to the MSI gods? Did I walk into Lucky's chambers and say, "Oh, dragon of fortune, please give me a GPU"? That was not even proper, but we're rolling with it. And then Lucky bestows upon me a 3060 out of spite. No, that's actually not how it worked at all. I went through official channels, much like you, because I am not relevant enough for MSI to even throw me a GPU like this. Now, I'm not relevant enough for that. And to be completely honest, that ends up working in my favor a little bit because I have the same experience that you would. I'd be paying the same price as you are. And so I can speak to this as from the perspective of how much I actually paid. Now, getting this GPU, that's another story. You see, right now, GPUs are just hard to get a hold of. It's not easy. You can't just go on to Newegg and buy one. Well, I mean, I kind of did, sort of. You have to enter something called a Newegg Shuffle on Newegg, and that's how I did it, actually. Now, the Newegg Shuffle can take months and months and months and months and months to get through. It's completely random. You're fighting against everything from bots to scalpers. And to be completely honest, like, it's not easy. But for me, I got really lucky really quickly. I was not in a position to buy a GPU all of 2021 until recently. Only about a week ago, I had the funds procured and I had an opportunity to actually buy a GPU. Personally, was looking to buy one starting last week, which is when I entered the Newegg Shuffle on Friday of last week. So not this week, but point is, I entered the Newegg Shuffle. I entered for exactly 3 GPUs, one of them being an AMD one and 2 of them being NVIDIA ones, because the price range was right. I didn't want to spend more than like $650 on the GPU. That's not including shipping and handling. But I didn't want to spend more than that because any more than that, I would be getting ripped off. And the prices for these things is just astronomical right now. For my targeted GPU, what I would prefer to be gaming on, which would be either a 3080 or a 6800 XT. Either of those work for me. Those are MSRP'd at around $600–700. Problem is, you can't buy them at that. Every single one of those GPUs that I saw, even in the shuffle, were like over $2,000. Like, and those bundles weren't contributing to that much of that. The GPU was just most of that cost. And that's disgusting. Because of that, I had to go way down the stack, all the way down to like the 3060 and the 6600 XT, which actually the 6600 XT is a better GPU, but only the one that I had selected was even in that price range. The other ones were like $800 and I was like, no. So I only entered for 3. That's the point. I got an email before I even left work. I had to buy this, by the way, at work, which was hilarious. But I got an email before I even left work around like 3 o'clock, and my window was from 3 to 4 o'clock to purchase my brand new 3060. I actually won one. And I was actually hesitant to hit that buy button because I realized that this is a $400 GPU. And the price I was paying for the GPU alone was like $550. And the bundle, so I dropped it, came to $650 with this DIMM kit. Now these are I don't have, OLOY. Blade memory. Now these aren't RGB, but they are 32 gigabytes for the two DIMM sticks combined and 3600 speed memory. But we'll touch on that in a little bit. So not a bad deal. This company's traditionally budget RAM, and normally on sale quite a bit. So the fact that that made up the rest of the cost was a little suspect. GPU arrived, by the way, in like 2 days. Like I ordered on Friday, it was here Monday. And that was like one business day, but yeah, still insanely fast. RAM took until like Thursday to get here. So yeah, that took a little bit. But I got a GPU. And honestly, like there was a lot to be excited about. I got a 30 series GPU. It's a 3060. Looking online performance-wise, it's supposed to be pretty close to the 5700 XT, which is a little disappointing, but it does have like an astonishingly high GDDR6 memory. I think it's GDDR6X too. It's like, either way, an astonishingly high amount of memory, which is good because that's actually one of the limits of my current GPU with VR. And you know what? Generally, I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's roll with this. And knowing that it was going to perform similarly, it does fit the criteria. You see, the whole reason I was in a rush to buy a GPU instead of just waiting like I tell all of you guys to do was actually because of you guys and also because of Supernova. But to be honest, I have been doing a lot with software and like making your gaming experience better, using more complex hardware configurations. I've been trying to test things so that I can make amazing videos for you guys. And honestly, Supernova, this water-cooled PC, is both in need of maintenance and incredibly difficult to change. As you guys know, I did build a test system. We've been calling it Dark Matter, and I will be returning to that name shortly for it with a bit of a build coming up, but give me some time on that one because I did just overspend on a GPU. But digressing a little bit, Supernova is difficult to work in, as where Dark Matter was not. It's an all air-cooled system, everything's easier to change out, and it makes it easier for me to have different test configurations to provide a wider array of data. For the most part, I've been testing exclusively on the 5700 XT, but now I've got the 3060 as well, which will open up some additional options. The second thing is maintenance. I'm gonna show you some B-roll of this PC, and you'll notice there's some air trapped in it. And to get that air out is damn near impossible. I have tried, I have gotten a lot of it out. There was more by holding the system almost upside down, but every time I move that system, I run the risk of having it leak. And it's just a massive water cooling loop with a lot of vulnerabilities in it. And personally, I'm going to try to fix that. And to fix that, I have to take apart the entire open loop, which runs the risk of damaging hardware, which runs the risk of ruining my parts. And if I am PC-less, I can't make videos for you guys. So I was between a rock and a hard place. Now I did have a GPU in that test PC, but it was an R9 380. I think it was a 380. Yeah, it's an old GPU. It's not capable of providing much, and it's not worth being a backup for Supernova. As where right now, that is. My goal was to hit parity. So that's why I bought the GPU. But is it worth the $500-ish that I did pay for it? And it's hard to decide because, well, it's performing better than the benchmarks would imply that it would. I believed that this would be on par to my 5700 XT, but because MSI made this model, there's a lot different to this GPU than many of the launch GPUs that got the reviews. Yes, this is a more expensive version, but it also has more power delivery. It has an additional 6-pin header, which means it has an 8 and a 6-pin PCIe header on it. The cooler is overkill at sometimes, and just overall, I've been having a better gaming experience than I've had on the 5700 XT, which is strange to me because my 5700 XT is underwater and performs better than the average 5700 XT, which means this 3060 is performing above average for a 3060. I've just been having really good luck with MSI. But then that does beg the question, if I'm comparing it to that GPU, if I were to compare it to that pricing, right? I believe I got my 5700 XT for around $400, which means I paid $150 for slightly better performance. Now, VR-wise, it actually has drastically better performance, but that's more related to the VRAM than anything else. Do I think I overpaid? Yeah, I do. And when you take into consideration this RAM, I definitely overpaid. Because if you add on the $150 or $160 value add that was this RAM, this is where Newegg made their money. This RAM should cost no more than probably, say, like maybe $100 for this DIMM kit. Because first off, that 3600 speed, not stable. I ran it for all of a couple of hours before I found that it was just not possible to do it. I tried to load up Half-Life Alyx, one of those VR games that I mentioned earlier, and it just black screen restart. Now, as someone who is technically inclined, I knew that that was a RAM issue, but it's just sad, you know, it just didn't work. Also, some really weirdness that I had with this GPU is how it's been running my monitor. You see with my monitor, normally on the AMD GPU through DisplayPort, it runs at 165 Hertz at 1440p. But for some unknown reason, this GPU runs that monitor over HDMI. So I mean, that could be the factor here, but it's running HDMI at 144 Hertz at 4K. Why? Now, that's what it did out of the box. And I was able to lower it back down to 1440p, but I don't know why it was overscaling on this display, because this display is a 1440p monitor. It's like virtual super resolution is what it was doing. And yeah, it looked great because, you know, it looked better than the AMD GPU, but that's because it was cheating. It was cheating in a really big way. But we'll talk about over resolution, I guess, in another video, because I'd need a deep dive onto that one because nobody understands it. And it's a bit more complicated. But digressing a little bit, we got to the point where we got gaming working and it's performing close, but a little bit better than a 5700 XT, which is also overclocked. And I have not overclocked this GPU at all. And I guess the question is, do I feel after everything that's happened in 2020 and 2021 that I effectively bought a piece of junk? Because the 3060 is the easiest to get a hold of GPU right now. Like, it's always in the Newegg shuffle. It's always in stock on the custom builders like Origin, all of them have 3060 PCs ready to go. And the answer is strangely no, but it's weird. Now we are gonna benchmark it. We're gonna benchmark it fully like we did the 5700 XT. And maybe I will get a bit more clarity on why I don't feel like I got ripped off completely. But I think that a lot of what's going on with this GPU line in particular is fascinating. Because if this GPU is overperforming, it's doing so by an interesting margin. And to me, that's a lot more fascinating than something that just goes normally. I mean, as I said, my water-cooled one's also an MSR card, and that one overperformed too. I had people claiming that my performance numbers were faked. They're not faked. And also, we do have to take into consideration that this GPU right here, the one that I used for the 5700 XT, was this is a mech, which is the product line below the Gaming X, which this is, and the margins increase, I think, by 5% each version. So they like have a standardized version, then they have the mech, and then they have the Gaming X. So realistically, it's hard to compare if I'm not comparing a Gaming X to a Gaming X when it comes to price. But at the same time, I would have bought a mech if the mech was available. The mech's not available because the mech, they're just not making them. They're just making the Gaming X. But that's how I bought a GPU in 2021. I went through the same channels, I got the Newegg shuffle, I overpaid, and I strangely don't hate it. I thought I'd hate it a lot more. Honestly, like I've never used a 60 series card. I've always used a 30, I had a 1080. I've always used a 7 series and above, like every single GPU. I've had a 280, RX 280, or R9 280 or something like that. The 380, this one right here, I also had this. This was a 7800 RX 78,000. Yeah, that. Like you'll notice, I never drop below the 7 series on AMD or NVIDIA. And this is my first 60 series card, and I'm surprised at how well it works at 1440p and 144 hertz because, you know, weirdness. But hey, look forward to the full review. We're gonna actually benchmark this card, and I wanna compare my numbers to the other reviewers because I'm noticing something weird happening. But I always notice something weird happening. So yeah, thank you guys again. Wolfie, out.